Welcome to today's Explainer. Look, today we're diving into some incredibly profound insights from Dr. Vikas Divyakirti about a daily battle that almost all of us face, but we almost never talk about. In a world that is just constantly screaming at you to be perfect and achieve these impossible, extraordinary things, we're going to explore the real, exhausting struggle of just being natural and normal. And honestly, more importantly, we're going to break down exactly how you can build an absolute, foolproof emotional shield against society's relentless criticisms. Let's get right into it.
So, to kick things off, we really have to stop and ask ourselves, why on earth does the simple act of living a natural, normal life feel like such an exhausting daily grind for so many of us? I mean, we're looking at a generation right now that's dealing with off-the-charts anxiety, burnout, and emotional turmoil. Every single time we open our phones, we are just bombarded by these highlight reels, right? It's nonstop hustle culture, and there's this unspoken, heavy rule that just being okay is somehow a massive failure.
All right, which brings us to our first core theme, the growing burden of greatness.
Now, there is immense and honestly toxic pressure placed on us to constantly be great. And there's this brilliant illustration of this in Jai Shankar Prasad's classic literary epic, Kamayani. It points out that true unhappiness has a very specific root. Basically, profound sorrow hits you when there's a massive disconnect between what your mind thinks, what your heart genuinely wants, and the actions you're forced to fake every day just to keep up appearances. Seriously, when you spend your whole life acting out a role that doesn't match who you are inside, that psychological stress, it becomes completely unbearable.
So the crucial takeaway here, and this is a real game changer, is that true success is absolutely not about crushing yourself to fit into some rigid mold of greatness. The real struggle, and frankly, the ultimate victory, is achieving the beautiful, quiet consistency of just being your natural, authentic self. Imagine the absolute freedom of living a life where your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions actually line up. What if the biggest win in life isn't holding up a shiny trophy, but finally giving yourself permission to take off the mask?
Moving right along to Section 2, give up versus let go.
To survive this heavy burden of modern expectations, we need practical tools. And that brings us to a huge distinction that totally flips how we process failure. I'm talking about the difference between giving up and letting go. Giving up is when you surrender to a situation, and here's the kicker, you hold on to the bitterness. You hold on to the pain and the frustration of that defeat. Imagine bombing a major project and letting that one single moment secretly ruin your confidence for years. You stop trying, sure, but that resentment, it just stays with you, playing on this exhausting, continuous loop in your head.
But contrast that with letting go. You guys, letting go is an absolute superpower. It is a highly conscious, empowering choice. It's you actively deciding to evict toxic thoughts, impossible expectations, or broken relationships from your mind completely. Rent-free, they are gone. You aren't surrendering because you're weak. You're walking away because you realize your inner peace is simply worth way more than the fight. It's an active shield for your energy and your self-respect.
Let me give you a brilliant example from Dr. Divyakirti about mastering this. Picture a wise, older father who just flat out refuses to absorb the chaotic, unnecessary drama of his kids or the noise of society. When a crisis pops up that he literally cannot control, instead of panicking, he actively chooses not to engage. By treating his mental peace as totally non-negotiable, he avoids the physical toll of anxiety. And get this, actively choosing peace over panic might literally add 10 years of healthy, calm living to your life. 10 extra years just from letting go.
Okay, jumping into part 3, building your shield against criticisms.
So how exactly do we shield ourselves from people's criticisms in the real world, in this hyper-connected, hypercritical modern age of social media trolls and constant judgment? Well, you have to deliberately build an emotional shield, and it happens in 3 simple steps. Step 1, acknowledge the initial anxiety. When someone attacks you, your heart is going to race. That's totally human validated. Step 2, quickly remind yourself that outrage is incredibly temporary. It passes. And step 3, mentally construct a barrier where that negativity just washes off you, like water off a duck's back, leaving your core identity completely untouched.
And listen to this incredibly vivid analogy that perfectly nails why you should never ever engage with these critics. Picture the mud and the pig. If you're out wearing a crisp white shirt and a pig splashes mud on you, your first angry instinct might be to jump into the mud pit and fight the pig. But guess what? Doing that is only going to ruin your peace and your outfit completely. The harsh truth is, the pig loves the mud. You don't. Your ultimate emotional shield is recognizing the mess and actively choosing not to jump in. Let them keep their mud. This perfectly mirrors the timeless wisdom found in Rahim's Doha, which tells us that engaging with petty, toxic people is honestly like dealing with a stray dog. Think about it. Whether that dog bites you out of anger or jumps up and licks you out of affection, it's unhygienic and bad for you either way. The absolute safest route is to maintain a healthy, neutral distance from people whose only goal is to drag you down to their level. Sometimes, your strongest shield is literally just keeping your distance.
Finally, let's bring it home with part 4, a natural and normal life. So, now that our emotional shield is up, how do we practically live this resilient, normal life every day? According to Dr. Divyakirti, living naturally means embracing 3 super practical traits. 1. Have a backup plan. 2. Rely on discipline over motivation. And 3. Absolutely refuse to treat every single success or failure like it's a matter of life and death. Look, having a safety net isn't pessimistic at all. It's actually an incredible tool for killing anxiety, because it lets you walk through life without feeling like one tiny misstep is going to destroy you.
And just look at this stark contrast between motivation and discipline. We are told all the time to seek out motivation, right? But motivation is basically just a dramatic emotional spike. Sure, it feels amazing for a few hours, but it almost always leads to a massive, exhausting crash. Relying on steady, long-term discipline is just far more effective. Discipline doesn't demand that you feel overwhelmingly pumped every single day. It just requires you to show up. It is the quiet, slightly boring, but incredibly reliable engine that drives a normal, successful life. Also, going back to that backup plan for a second, it's not a sign of weakness. If you're terrified by the idea of millions of people competing for your dream job, remember this. Competition is generally high in numbers, but shockingly low in actual quality. If you possess basic skills and that steady discipline we just talked about, you are automatically bypassing the vast majority of the crowd. You really don't need to panic about the sheer numbers, you just need to be consistently prepared.
So I want to leave you with this really powerful final thought. Why live in constant fear of what's going to happen? If things don't go exactly as planned, the literal worst-case scenario is that you gain profound, undeniable experience. I really invite you to embrace the genuine, beautiful struggle of just living a normal life. You do not need to be superhuman. You just need to be yourself, protected by your own strong emotional boundaries. So take a deep breath, let go of that impossible burden of greatness, and ask yourself, are you ready to start building your shield today?